The HF Sinclair refinery in West Tulsa is trying to stop contamination from seeping into the Arkansas River.
FOX23 investigative reporter Jana Clark has been looking into questions about the river's water quality for years. Now she digs into what the impact of this pollution could be, especially with Tulsa leaders working to make the river recreational. It's a FOX23 investigation.
The ecosystem of the area.
Kelsey Royce told me she's frustrated about what's happening with the Arkansas River.
I am so disgusted. I mean, it's just, I am so disgusted.
Do you have concerns about what's in the water?
Absolutely, I have concerns about what's in the water.
She and Barbara Van Hanken were walking along the river about 21st Street earlier this year and spotted this gunk in the water.
I find this dark water collected on top of this rock, and there's bubbles coming up.
A really thick, congealed, sort of oily looking substance.
What did you think when you saw it?
It's pretty gross.
There's the film.
They also saw this oily sheen on top of the water.
I thought it was an oil seep, and I went, oh my gosh, here is one.
Amy Britton with the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality told me refinery waste does seep into the river.
These spills have happened throughout the history of that facility.
Tell me exactly what the contamination is and why it's been happening.
The contaminations from historical refinery operations, releases of hydrocarbon, which is like your gasoline, your crude oil, into the subsurface.
Amy says hydrocarbons float on top of the groundwater and can seep into the river. She says they look like an oily sheen, just as Barbara and Kelsey saw. A seep into the river last December got DEQ's attention. HF Sinclair refinery, that used to be Holly Refinery, is now under what's called a corrective action permit.
They're working on remediating contaminated groundwater under the facility. Some of the contaminated groundwater is migrating towards the Arkansas River.
The contamination that's already there, what does that mean for the people who are in and near the river, live around there?
What people should understand is that there is cleanup going on at the refinery.
DEQ says now the refinery is putting in a containment cap. It's supposed to keep hydrocarbons from seeping into the river, then collect and extract the waste. When I asked HF Sinclair about it, they said in an email it's to prevent hydrocarbon sheen from entering the Arkansas River at the location. Kelsey went to a meeting at the end of April that HF Sinclair put on to let the public know about the containment cap. What did you get from that meeting?
It's unproven. Their solution has not been proven to work in the long term.
And I think they're kidding themselves, or they're trying to hide it from the public about the enormity of the pollution that is existing over there.
That is just one piece of a larger cleanup effort that needs to take place.
She says that this is that larger cleanup, a massive plume, an area of contamination that's under the refinery. Do you know how much contamination there is right now?
We have a pretty good idea.
DEQ says it's 392 acres. It's about 4 times the size of Tulsa's gathering place.
It's huge.
That's a lot of acreage that is now polluted in the groundwater underneath.
Is it concerning?
It's very concerning because it's in the same spot where the zinc lake will be.
It's the same water where city leaders are planning to open a whitewater flume. It says on the city's website you can expect things like canoes, watercraft, and rowing. And it's a price tag of about $50 million of your tax dollars. What do you think about people getting in the water to play?
Don't do it. I wouldn't suggest anybody do it.
How would you feel about your kids playing in the river?
And my kids will not be in that river.
I sounded the alarm 6 years ago when city leaders first started talking about making the river a recreational hotspot. Do you feel like it's safe to get in?
Oh, absolutely.
In this 2017 interview, I asked Mayor G.T. Bynum about testing the Arkansas River in the city limits. At the time, he told me he thought testing was happening, but I showed him the last time anyone tested that section of the river was INCOG in 2011. I didn't know if you were aware of that or not.
No, this is everything they've told us is that it's tested with regularity.
In this 2015 River Task Force meeting, Bynum asked INCOG's Vernon Seaman about testing the river.
And Tulsa on the Arkansas, it is routinely tested.
There are a couple of sampling locations that are tested every so often.
Back then, I asked Vernon about the water too. Is the water safe?
Safe is a difficult term. In all surface waters, there is risk.
Is it okay for people to get in the water?
I get in the water frequently. I canoe and kayak a lot.
The city says they test the river in Sand Springs and in Bixby, but there's a 7-mile stretch right through the city of Tulsa that's not being tested.
Why do you think that is? I have no idea. They know better. It's a reckless disregard for the health and safety of the public.
In 2017, Vernon with INCOG admitted testing in Tulsa was not happening. I haven't seen anybody doing any testing in the city limits.
That's true.
Today, 6 years later, that testing still is not happening.
We don't know what's in the water because no one has been testing the river.
Both the Water Resources Board and Conservation Commission said in 2017, there's no way to know if the river quality is good or bad if you don't have any data. During a February Brookside neighborhood meeting, Mayor Bynum did say that he plans to start testing the river in Tulsa.
We will be doing regular testing of the water quality in that lake to make sure it's safe for people. That is, I think, probably the greatest concern I've heard from folks about using the new lake is just how do we know that the water is safe for people?
We need to know what's in the water. We need to be assured that it's safe.
With seepage coming in from the refineries over there, we know it, they know it. Why are we even thinking about allowing people to come into the river?
In midtown Tulsa, on the Arkansas River, covering news that matters. Jana Clark, Fox 23 News.
Now, this is the second cap. They put one in about a year ago, just south of the dam. DEQ says work just started on this cap, and it will take HF Sinclair about 6 months to build it.
The city says when it comes to testing, they're working with DEQ to develop a water monitoring program for Zinc Lake. They plan to start when that low water dam is finished in the fall. They say they'll be doing testing for a year before anyone is allowed to recreate in the water.
Do you have a tip or issue that you think Jana Clark should investigate? Let us know. Email FOX23 Investigates at fox23.com or call 918-388-5354 or search Fox 23 Jana Clark on Facebook.